Good evening. Welcome to the December 15th regular City Council meeting for the City of Rochester Hills. Ms. Whispern, will you take roll?
Good evening. President Carlock?
Here.
Vice President Mangioli?
With notice.
Mr. Blair?
Here.
Mr. Lindberg?
Here.
Ms. Menino?
Here.
Ms. Neubauer?
Here.
Mr. Skelsey?
Here.
President Carlock, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Whispern. Approval of the agenda. I have not been made aware of any changes to the agenda. I have a motion by Mrs. Neubauer, seconded by Mr. Blair. All in favor of tonight's agenda? Yay.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. We have an agenda. You know what's missing is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, yeah.
If we'll all rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with our council. And now, Council and Youth Committee reports. We will start with Ms. Blakely from our Rochester Hills Government Youth Council.
Good evening, President Carlock, City Council members, Mayor Barnett, and citizens of Rochester Hills. My name is Isabella Blakely, and I'm a senior at the International Academy High School. I have served on the Rochester Hills Government Youth Council for 2 years, and I serve on the Cemetery Advisory Committee, as well as being the current youth chairperson. This past month, Youth Council has participated in the Christmas party with City Council, welcomed and swore in a new member to the Youth City Council from Rochester Adams High Schools, and passed out light-up wands for the Light the Village at the end of November. We also did some shopping for 2 local nonprofit charities last week and purchased gifts for Rainbow Connection and donated hats and gloves to the Next Steps for Seniors. We also held our annual holiday meeting party at Rochester Hills Museum, where we had a potluck, played games, saw the train exhibit, and held a white elephant gift exchange. We have our winter event coming up on January 31st, 2026, called the Super Bowl Party, where we will have food, fun games like bingo, and prizes. We will be working with Neighborhood House to collect non-perishable food donations, which will be distributed to those in need. This event will be held at the Rochester Hills Public Library in the multi-purpose room from 1 to 3 p.m. This month, we're going to continue coordinating the entertainment events, as well as securing the food donations and raffle prizes for the Super Bowl. And then our next meeting will be on Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Isabella. Always a lot going on, so glad we can keep you kids busy. Next up, Mrs. Neubauer.
Thank you, President Carlock. I just wanted to congratulate the Planning Commission on winning, finally, their decoration in the department. They had long come in second and third. I don't know where they are, but I would encourage all of you to go and see the 3D printed version of our mayor that they used as one of their props, along with Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart. So congratulations. They all go together. So just wanted to congratulate our planning department and all the departments. You really made it look Christmas spirit in here. They all look beautiful. You guys did a great job, and thank you for bringing the Christmas spirit to Rochester Hills.
Thank you, Ms. Neubauer. Seeing no other council or committee reports, next up is recognitions 2025-0570. Proclamation in recognition of Chad Anderson, Mr. Tennis, 2025 MHSAA Division I State Championship. If council will join me in front of the dais, and Mayor will present the proclamation.
Well, this is always usually the best part of our jobs and certainly of our meeting agendas, and that is to recognize outstanding talent in the community, and of course what we'll do just after that, which is recognize some of our public servants. I'm guessing that most of this crowd isn't here for the consent agenda later on, that you're probably here to recognize and support some of the folks that we're going to start our evening with tonight. There are a lot of athletes in the state of Michigan. 10 million residents, over 1,000 high schools, but there is only the opportunity for one person to be the best at their sport. Over the years, at least that I've been here, we've had Mr. Baseball. We've had some people that have been recognized. You know how well we've done from the cheer teams from Rochester Adams, and Stony Creek. But in terms of individual excellence, this is as good as it gets. And tonight we're here to recognize the first ever Mr. Tennis from Rochester Hills. Joined here with Chad Anderson, Mr. Tennis, and his coach, Jerry Murphy. And I'm going to ask them both to speak in just a minute. But I'd like to start by reading the proclamation just so you understand a little bit about what this award and what this recognition means. It says, whereas in recognition of Chad Anderson, Mr. Tennis, 2025 MHSAA Division I State Champion. Whereas Rochester High School's varsity boys tennis team led by Coach Jerry Murphy demonstrated unparalleled dedication and skill throughout the 2025 and 2026 season. And after an undefeated season, team captain Chad Anderson entered the MHSAA Division I Boys Tennis Finals as the top seed and #1 singles, dominating his competition to secure the state championship title, the first such title in Rochester High School's history. And whereas this achievement is a testament not only to his athletic prowess, but also to his commitment as a student athlete, as he exemplifies excellence, leadership, and impeccable character in every facet of his life. Anderson, a leader both on and off the court, went on to be named 2025's Mr. Tennis for the state of Michigan, one of the highest honors a high school tennis player can receive anywhere in the nation, thus closing out a fantastic and historic season. Whereas these extraordinary accomplishments bring honor and distinction to his family, his school, and his entire community, now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and the city council of the city of Rochester Hills hereby congratulate Chad Anderson on his well-deserved recognition, his historic achievements, and for serving as an inspiration to his peers and future generations of student athletes. Let's give Chad a round of applause. Chad, before we ask you to come forward, I know that it takes a lot to become a champion, no matter what the sport. It takes a supportive environment. I know your family is here. It takes a supportive school environment. I know your principal and dean are here, or athletic director are here. And I know it takes a pretty good coach. And I bet you had one of those in Jerry Murphy. So I'd like to ask Coach Murphy to come forward and share a few words about Chad.
Oh, thank you, Brian. You pretty much covered it here. It's said everything that needs to really be said. The only thing I can really add to that is just a thank you on behalf of Rochester High School, our tennis team, the Anderson family for doing this proclamation for Chad. Chad was the captain of our team in addition to all of the things that were said here. He was a 4-time first-team All-State player. There's anywhere from about 10 to 20 guys in the state who were picked first team, and he was a first team player as a freshman, okay? Just to tell you how good he really was. And this year, as it was said here, he was undefeated going into the state tournament. And I'll let him come up and kind of give you a little bit of what the state tournament meant to him and his experience there. He cramped up in the last match. You know, and if you've ever played tennis and know getting the cramps in a match, you know, sometimes you can't finish the match, but that wasn't the case. He was bound and determined this year that he was going to win the state championship, and he wasn't going to let a little cramping stop him. But I'll let him speak to that issue and what it really meant to him to win the award. Next year he's going to be playing at Marquette University, where his brother Clayton, who's here in the audience, is already playing, and so they've got two pretty good guys, and I appreciated having. If you go back through Clayton's career, he was #1 player for me for 4 years, And when he left, Chad took over as the #1 player for the last 2 years. For 6 years in a row, I haven't had to really do too much coaching of the #1 guys, I'll tell you that right now. But I'm going to let Chad come up here and say a few words.
Coach, how long have you been coaching?
You really want to know? This is my 54th year coaching at Rochester High School.
Yeah, this is a great proclamation, and I didn't fully prepare a speech, but I want to thank my school and the community for having me out here, and of course the coaches who supported me along the way, and my family. Yeah, the winning Mr. Tennis in the state championship meant a lot to me. It meant more than I ever thought anything on a tennis court could really mean to me. And yeah, I'm thankful to celebrate the award with everyone in the community. And thank you guys for having me here.
We have one more recognition. They won't let us rename Rochester Road, but we did want to present this to you as the 2025 Mr. Tennis, Chad Anderson. Congratulations. You want to go through and shake the hands of the... Oh, here, look at them. Oh, one here. And then go ahead. You want to stay for the picture? Apparently, we have the Kelsey brothers of tennis living in Rochester Hills. Chad, why don't you go right back to the middle? And David, you got it?
Next up is item number 2025-0588, swearing-in ceremony for promoted fire staff members.
Oh, they're so much taller. All right. Good evening, City Council, Mayor, President Carlock. It's not our, let's join, where's my guys? Brent and Aaron, come on up here. Yeah, they're not even here. I don't, for here? Somewhere up front. Yeah, somewhere up front. Yeah. Huh? Yeah, that's fine. All right. It's an honor to stand here tonight to recognize the dedication and outstanding service of two of our newest leaders in the Rochester Hills Fire Department. Tonight, we swear in Fire and Life Safety Lieutenant Brent Stanich and Suppression Lieutenant Aaron Bariska. Their promotions are a testament to their exceptional skills, leadership qualities, and a commitment to the safety of our community. Both Brent and Aaron started the department as a paid-on-call member and were hired full-time in 2017, different months, and were officially placed in their role as lieutenant at the beginning of November of this year. Throughout their careers, they have consistently demonstrated professionalism and dedication to the department and its members. As you take on these new leadership roles, you are joining an amazing group of officers and will be tasked with playing a vital part in maintaining the high standards of excellence that our residents expect from the fire department. Congratulations on your promotion, and I'm so proud of both of you.
So gentlemen, if you want to come over here, come up over here. I'm going to swear both of you in at the same time. Hello there. That's awesome. Do you want to raise your hand too? Okay, so if you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and the Charter of the City of Rochester Hills. And I will faithfully perform the duties of the office, I'm going to say Lieutenant Suppression and Fire and Life Safety Lieutenant, in and for the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, conducting myself in a manner designed to maintain the integrity of my office and the honor of the City of Rochester Hills, according to the best of my abilities, so help me God. Congratulations. This is always awkward. Yeah, are you gonna?
Yeah. Your families can come up and pin you now. Yeah.
Should probably do it right. Aw. That's awesome. Awesome. Aw. That's so awesome. Oh, good job. Good job. Good.
Next up on the agenda, item 2025-0587, swearing-in ceremony for two new firefighter candidates. Captain Gambino.
Not a crime boss. I'm just a training lieutenant or captain. Sorry. All right. So good evening, President Carlock, members of council, Mayor Barnett. Thank you all for being here. I guess you kind of got to be, but we appreciate this is one of the biggest days for us in the fire service is bringing in new members. We are here tonight to swear in and pin our newest members of the Rochester Hills Fire Department, firefighter paramedics Lenz and Shanley. Becoming a firefighter paramedic is a demanding calling requiring courage, dedication, and commitment to service. On behalf of our department, we welcome you, gentlemen, Al and Tyler, to our department. You are joining a dedicated and professionalism, teamwork, and mutual support, a team that is dedicated to those things. This is a challenging journey, and it will bring you unique pride and fulfillment in the future, in the years to come. We welcome you to our team, firefighter paramedic Lenz and firefighter paramedic Shanley, and we are proud and look forward to your impact in our department. Thank you.
Okay, yep, come on up. You're next. Congratulations, gentlemen. Okay, if you want to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and the Charter of the City of Rochester Hills, and that I will faithfully perform the duties of the office of firefighter medic in and for the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, conducting myself in a manner designed to maintain the integrity of my office and the honor of the City of Rochester Hills, according to the best of my abilities, so help me God. Congratulations.
All right, next up, presentations, a legislative update by Senator Michael Weber, item 2025-0592.
Senator Weber comes forward, everyone exits.
I was going to say, it's just, yeah, they're all gone.
You know, that's a tough act to follow.
They've heard you speak before.
That's a tough act to follow, but also, a very inspiring night to see all those presentations. So, so for the council, thank you, President Carlock, and Council Mayor Barnett. Michael Weber serves as the state senator for the 9th District, which includes the greater Rochester area, Troy, Sterling Heights, Shelby Township, and Utica. Try to do, especially for the new council members, and congratulations to you. I try to do this a couple times a year just to kind of give you what I would want to know if I was in your shoes, because I used to be in your shoes a while ago, and try to do these updates a couple times a year. The main thing to kind of update on is since I was last here, we did pass a state budget in early October. I think mostly some good updates on there. Like families all over Michigan, state government must live within its means, and so I did support a strong bipartisan state budget that rolls back spending for the first time in years and helps workers by eliminating taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security, makes needed investment in our roads by finally putting every penny paid in taxes at the pump back into fixing our infrastructure. So what does this mean for Rochester Hills? It's going to be a 31% increase in road funding, local road funding for you, or about $3.3 million in additional money on a yearly basis. So that is for a total of $13.4 million. And again, this is going to be annually and not just a one-time thing. Oakland County is going to receive 36% increase in road funding, or close to $48 million in additional money. And of course, we work with them in terms of the tri-party funding, for a lot of our county roads here in the city. Overall, the bipartisan roads plan will invest $2 billion annually in long-term road funding. And that includes putting $100 million annually into our local bridge program, which is obviously a different fund, but is important as. And I know Mayor Barnett remembers when I was on council, we had some trouble with our bridges around that Avon, Livernois area. And so, so I think that hopefully that 100 million will come in handy. In terms of like a local community win, and the mayor knows this, but we, Rep. Tisdale and I, myself, were able to get $2 million in the budget for the city of Rochester Hills to improve roadway infrastructure and provide access to Nowicki Park, indoor space for community gatherings. So I know that's part of a broader, you know, dollars that the council has put forward there. And then in terms of revenue sharing, that's kind of the downside to it a little bit. There is going to be less in statutory constitutional revenue sharing. We think it's about 500,000 less. That's largely from the sales, getting rid of the sales tax on the gas. I will say both Rep. Tisdale and myself, we continue to work with the Michigan Municipal League on the revenue sharing trust fund bills. I know Rep. Tisdale Long earlier in this session did reintroduce his bill on revenue sharing trust fund. We do have companion bills now in the Senate on a bipartisan basis with Senator Moss, myself, and Senator Cherry. So those are before the Senate Appropriations Committee, so we'll keep you apprised of that. In terms of, you know, some other legislation that we're working on that I think would be of interest, we are still working towards, you know, noise pollution issues. Long story short, in 2023, I worked on this issue and was able to get money in the budget for a sound wall in the city of Troy and along I-75. And coming through that process, we kind of decided it's hard to do that process every year. So we looked at what other states did, and a few of the other states had a state mechanism to fund the construction of sound wall barriers. And so I'm working with Representative Ron Robinson, who we overlap with in Utica, on legislation. I know his bill did pass the House Transportation Committee, but essentially within MDOT we would do a funding mechanism, then it would be up to the legislature to fund it each year. It would largely work as a grant program where the cities, townships could go to the state and say, you know, we think we have a case to be made for this sound wall funding. But there's only a handful of other states that have done this so far, so we're trying to get some traction on that. And then lastly, on the funding front, part of the, you know, and of course we just saw, you know, and had a lot of our public safety personnel here. The public safety trust fund piece did pass and was implemented in the budget process. And that is $95 million throughout the state for new local public safety focused programs, resources for law enforcement, prosecution, other public safety related recruitment, retention, training, firefighting equipment needs. At this point, the formula kind of is weighted towards some of these communities that have some, you know, some public safety concerns or issues. And so a city like the city of Rochester Hills does not fare as well in that equation. I think now that it's established over time, we would like to try to see if we can't get that to be a little more equalized. But we still think it's going to mean about $47,000 to the city here in the first year. And so, yeah, and so I think that that's important. And then, yeah, I know you guys have a busy meeting, so I'll just end it there. For residents here and at home, for more information, sign up for our monthly e-news. You can visit senatormichaelweber.com or call our office at 517-373-0994. And I can take questions if you have time for that.
Yeah, of course we do.
Appreciate the opportunity. So.
Thank you, Senator Weber. We do have a couple council members that wish to speak to you. First up, Mr. Blair.
How's it going, Senator? Good to see you. Always appreciate your updates. Appreciate all the hard work that you do. Remember when I spent the day with you in Lansing?
I do remember that.
That was 8 years ago.
It was a while ago.
I had to check my camera. It's been 8 years. But My comments and questions are specific to the budget. Despite how hard you and all the others work to represent your constituents, it is, you guys have a target on your back when you miss the July deadline, and it reflects poorly on not just the entire government. I know we have a 3-year budget here in the city of Rochester Hills, which has served us very well, and we were the first in the state to do that, and now a lot of cities have followed in our footsteps. I know there are a few states that have 2-year budgets. Is there any chance that we might be able to see something to that effect in the state of Michigan in our lifetimes? Because it would make that process so much easier, because there's always be a framework each year. It might not be exact, but I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I think, this is my 9th year in the legislature. I think we've gone past the July 1 twice, once when I was in the House and then once this year. And nobody likes to do it or wants to do it. Obviously, in my role in the Senate, I had no control over it. But I will say, a lot of us have advocated. In fact, one of the things that was put in place when I was in the House was that July 1. And of course, as it played out this year, there's really not a lot of teeth to that law. But it was always a good, practice to do. I think it's just, similar to the federal level and this and that. It's better communication, better talking with our colleagues on the other side of the aisle and other chamber to try to move the ball forward on something like that. And I'm hoping we'll have a smoother process here in 26. So.
Well, you've got proof that multi-year budgets work, right?
Sure.
So if anybody's going to bring it, it'll be you. My second question is regarding the gasoline tax. It's great that that's going to go all back towards roads. I think that's important. But we've discussed in the past, how EVs fit into that, right? Because they don't pay at the pump, so we're trying to charge them maybe higher registration fees so that they pay their fair share. With the elimination of the credit from the federal government, have those equations changed at all? Like, are we looking at EVs differently because maybe the future isn't quite the way that we thought it would be in years past?
That's a good question. I want to say, and I have to go back because it was been a few months now since we worked on, but I want to say there was a component to it that affected EVs, and so let me see if I can get you more information. I'll send it through Leanne and to the whole council. I'll look into that tomorrow, but I think in general, yes. I mean, the EVs, they're using the roads, and they're a lot of times, a lot of them are heavier than some of the gas cars, and so it does, have that wear and tear, yet they're not paying, the fuel taxes. And so it's something that, other states are looking at other, creative ways going forward on that, because even our gas vehicles are much more fuel efficient than they were 25 years ago. And so the gas tax is probably, going to be a relic here in the next, 15, 20 years. But right now, that's kind of the mechanism that we've been using as a state. And so in a lot of the other options that other states are looking at are not necessarily super palatable either, like miles driven and some of this other kind of stuff. So it's trying to kind of figure that out and going forward. But no, you bring up some good points.
We got the Motor City here in Michigan. Hopefully we can blaze the way. I appreciate it, Mike.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Back to you, Prez.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Next up, Mrs. Neubauer.
Thank you, President Carlock. I have 2 questions and 1 comment. The first one was about the $47,000 approximately that we're going to get for public safety funds. I could be wrong, but I think that was the amount that the RCS district, or close to, I think they were at $55,000 that they were unable to contribute, and that's why we lost our resource officer after what happened in Oakland County. Is there a way for us to make sure that we use it and not lose it, and maybe fill that position that was taken from us with those funds?
I think it's broad enough, and again, we can get you the full language on it. But yeah, I think that it's
I
broad
read
enough
it.
where you can maybe use something like that.
Yeah, I did read the statute that was passed, and my interpretation of it looks like it does cover the resource officers in the school because it's the public safety for, so if there's a way that we can try to recover that deficit, use that money that we're going to get, because I feel like if we're not going to, I could be wrong, but if we don't use it or give them a goal for it, it's going to be gone and they're not going to give it to us, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed, again, it's supposed to be like on an annual basis and this and that, but, and this is the first year we're really doing it. I mean,
Right.
they tried to kind of implement it in the 23-24 session, and it just never really got off the ground. And so now it's in the budget, and the legislation's passed on it, and so it's just trying to work
So if
through
we
it.
can just kind of target it to make sure that it does come to us somehow, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that's the best use for it. We'd
It
have to
will, it will come to the city, and so
Yeah.
the city can have that debate, at the council table on how best to utilize those resources.
Okay, and then the second question I have is that I was really excited to see that there's the tax on weed, the 24%. But what makes me nervous is that it's supposed to be going to road funding, and we've been supposedly fixing our roads for the last 8 years, and I haven't seen that. So if there's a way for us to,
So that, yeah, so that part of that, it is a new thing. So yeah, so no, that is, that was what was passed in order to make the $2 billion possible, yeah. So it's a new thing, though. Yeah.
so if it's a new thing, how long will it take to get whatever revenue in order for the roads to actually be touched? Since the last estimate that I heard was when my kids were in both of them were in junior high, that I-75 will be completed by the time they start college. So like, I'm trying to think, how much time will it take for them to?
Yeah, so it goes into effect, I believe it's January 1st.
Right.
And there is some litigation on it too. But
Right.
no, we've budgeted that money in this budget that goes from now and through September 30th. So yeah, as a state, we're anticipating that revenue coming
Okay.
in.
I just want to make sure that whenever there's revenue that's budgeted, it's actually spent and used for what it's budgeted for. And I know
Yes.
I know you'll hold them accountable. I
Sure.
just hope that you can get your colleagues to hold people accountable too.
Sure.
My last comment is I wanted to thank you for all the work you're doing with the mental health reform. It is disastrous here in Michigan, and as a probate attorney, I hope that this can help the people first who are becoming wards of the state and are going into facilities or not actually having space in facilities and ending up in either the judicial system, the prison system, or homeless because we don't have the resources. So I was really, really proud and happy that it was our representative that's spearheading that. And a lot of work needs to be done. You can check the dockets in Macomb, Oakland, and see just the number of cases that we have of people who have been deemed legally incapacitated, and then people don't know what to do with them after they've been judicially compromised, and now we don't know what to do with them. So I'm so thankful for you. I'm so thankful that you identified that as a problem and that you're working on getting some
Yeah.
help for that. And if
No,
you
I
need
appreciate
any help, let me know. I'll do anything I can, and we'll gather the whole army of probate attorneys to do it for you.
No, I
So,
appreciate that, and there's more to come on that front. Yeah,
great.
for sure.
Thank you so much. That's all I have, President Carlock.
Thank you, Mrs. Neubauer, and thank you, Senator Weber, for coming out and
Yeah,
talking to
thank you.
us.
Thank you. I like the 3-minute clock, too.
Yeah.
It's very transparent. It's
Yeah.
very transparent.
Right.
All right, good. All right.
Thank you. Next up, public hearings. Item 2025-0499, fiscal year 2025, fourth quarter budget amendments. Mr. Snyder. Your mic, yeah.
Let me try that again.
First
Sorry
time
about
you've been
that.
there, yeah.
Yeah, first time I've ever done this here. So, thank you, President Carlock, City Council, Mayor Barnett, and Ms. Blakely. Well, as part of the fourth quarter budget amendment presentation tonight, I'd like to take this opportunity to present before you some of the financial highlights from the soon-to-be completed fiscal year 2025. And as we go through here, just keep in mind all the figures incorporate all of the fiscal year 2025 fourth quarter budget amendments that are in your packet, as well as the projected fiscal year 2026 first quarter budget amendments, which basically carry forward the dollars for projects that were not completed in this current fiscal year 2025 to 2026 for completion. What this will help to do is give kind of an apples-to-apples long-term comparison. So let's just dive right in here. So for an overall citywide grand total perspective, as part of this fourth quarter budget amendment for the year, total revenues are proposed to increase by $1.2 million. Total expenditures are proposed to decrease by $14 million. That's that number there. Of that $14 million, 3.1% or $3.1 million or 2% is due to reductions in annual operating expenditures, $11.1 million or 18% for capital projects, and an increase of $239,000 or 1% for interfund transfers. Grand totals have a net impact on our citywide fund balances of $15 million, actually 15.2. Now keep in mind, we will be proposing to carry over approximately $10 million of this amount to next year to complete our current projects this year. Really a huge metric for me that I look at all the time is right here, $49 million in capital, 49.3, with a proposed draw of 30.3 from fund balance. This demonstrates a structural operating surplus of approximately $19 million for 2025. So first off, let's take a look at the $49 million in capital projects completed this year, which is a very big list and a big year. So looking at a pie chart here, well, we'll kind of start over here at major roads and kind of go around the clock here. $4.5 million in major roads completed this year is the Brewster Road reconstruction from Walton to Dutton, as well as Eddington Boulevard from Farnborough to Woodruff. We have $5.2 million into our local streets, and this is really our annual local street asphalt and concrete programs. Water and sewer, big chunk of the pie over here, 15+.6 million. Primarily this was for the University Hills subdivision water main replacement, SCADA system replacement, Brewster Road water main replacement, Innovation Hills water connection, and some various water and sewer urgent repairs that were needed. Some of the smaller pieces of the pie, MIS, $649,000 for citywide photocopier replacements and network upgrades. In fleet, $2 million for replacements for 3 pieces of equipment and 14 vehicles. $700,000 in pathway for our annual pathway rehabilitation program, as well as the Adams at Clinton River Trail pathway crossing, which was just completed this year. Stormwater, $1 million worth of work, including river bank stabilizations at Eagles Landing, which is right outside here at Avon and Livernois, as well as at Innovation Hills. Fire capital, $1.5 million, and this was for 3 ambulances and heart monitors. And facilities, they kind of took the prize this year with $18 million. Pretty good list here. Fire station number 1, roof, HV, and interior. Fire training tower, Oakland County Sheriff's Office interior replacements or enhancements. The gateway and park entrance signs. Spencer Park, docks and deck upgrades, as well as the parking lot was completed this year. Innovation Hills restroom came online. At Borden Park, we have brand new batting cages as well as some locker room upgrades for some of our staff there. The bridges were replaced at the museum. Citywide, we replaced all of our picnic tables. And at Nowakey Park, we got the engineering and architectural services basically wrapping up here soon. At the Van Hoosen Jones Cemetery, we have a brand new irrigation system. And not very exciting, but here at City Hall, we got a new chiller to keep things temperate. So how does 49.3 compare to our past trend? Well, as you see here, it's a pretty big number, probably going to be a record number by the end of the year. And one big thing to keep in mind, this $49 million of projects, and all of the projects from 2016 to 2025 were all delivered with no debt issued. So we won't be paying any of these projects off over the past 20 years, over the next 20 years, rather. And if you add up all the numbers for the last 10 years, this is $300 million of infrastructure investment we have completed within the city. So we do have little time to rest as we have plans in motion for another big year of infrastructure reinvestment and quality of life improvements for our city next year, including the development of Nowakey Park. Now we're going to switch gears a little and cover some of the city's most significant individual funds. I love calling these our Big Seven. And we're going to start with probably our most important fund, the general fund. Revenue's up, 1.2 million, 4%. And our expenditures were down, or at least operating was down 944,000, or another 4% decrease. And this is probably a consistent story throughout all the funds. Now, per our general fund balance policy, for this year, we want to set that number at 65% of our annual operations. Any additional funds above and beyond that 65% will flow into our capital improvement fund. And this causes the increase in transfers out to the capital improvement fund to be $3 million. Over $3 million additional we'll be contributing to the capital improvement fund. And this is really, truly great news that due to this year's favorable budget variance, higher in revenues, lower in operations, and in accordance with our fund balance policy, we'll be transferring this additional $3 million over to the capital improvement fund this year to be used for capital projects citywide. And we have some very innovative ideas that we'll be bringing forward to you in January regarding how we possibly manage this moving forward. Now let's look at this graphically, and I love these charts, and I'm sure you all do at this point, especially the mayor. He loves my charts. But as we can see here, the decrease in general fund balance, we ended 2024 at right on 80%. Plan to go to 65, 50, and 35. 35 is our new fund balance target, and we aim to maintain that over the long term. So we're going to be stepping down over the course of the next 3 years. So as you look at this fund, it looks very much in control, and this is good because general fund is really the most important fund that we have. If any fund were to get into any trouble, the general fund could assist. Now let's move over to the companion fund, the capital improvement fund, and this is where some other good news happens. In the capital improvement fund, you see on the revenue side, we're amending up that $3.1 million. Most of this is from the general fund. Also, some investment earnings came in a little bit better. And our expenditures, we're reducing that down by $3 million. And a lot of this is projects not yet awarded in 2025 or projects coming in under budget, which is always a good thing. So what is really great news is going into this budget, in the third quarter, we were planning a $3.9 million draw from our capital improvement fund. Due to the higher revenues, lower expenses, there'll be a $6 million change. So end of the year, we are anticipating our capital improvement fund increasing $2.2 million, basically 9.7 coming in, 7.4 coming out. So our capital improvement fund is anticipated to grow by $2.2 million. Looking at this graphically, you can see the increase here. There's a big spike here. That is Nowicki Park. And we are planning on funding that park 100% with cash on hands with no needed for debt. So this is really the big thing that we have to be very strategic as we're looking forward in which capital projects to pursue on an annual basis. And we have a very exciting idea that we'll be bringing forward to you in January on how we manage this. What I like to look at, if you compare this with the prior presentation I gave to you in July, you notice this number is pretty flat going forward. Now we're actually seeing growth in this fund. So this is very, very positive, and this fund is working just as we have anticipated when we initially set it up years ago. Let's move on to our next Big 3 or Big 7 fund, our major road funds. Revenues down a little bit, and this is mainly due to deferment of a project that will be coming for you a little bit later tonight for the technology at Auburn Signal Exchange. It's in this year's budget. Won't be done until next year. It had a funding source that came from the LDFA, so those monies will basically, the revenue and expenditure will roll to next year. And our expenditures are down $1.2 million, primarily of operating of $166,000 and $1 million less in capital projects. So in total, $800,000 less is needed from fund balance. And that basically brings us from the $956,000 to just about $153,000 draw from the major road fund. What I think is really impressive on this particular chart here is $4.4 million of capital was inputted into our roads this year, with $153,000 from fund balance to accomplish this. So that's very, very strong and very, very positive. Looking forward, kind of a crazy chart here. Keep in mind the major road fund is more of a capital fund, so we want to be able to have those dollars when those big projects happen. So finish here in 2025, actually anticipating putting a little money in 2026, and then we have some pretty big projects coming in 2027, 2028, and 2029, which will draw it down a little bit. And then after those big projects are done, we look to be growing this fund. So major road funds still looking very, very good. And we did have $4.5 million in major road construction, so how does that kind of chart out? Another real strong year in our major road system. Not quite as big as in 2019. That year we had the Auburn corridor come online. Also did Livernois from Avon to north of Walton, as well as Starbat. And in 2022 we had the Auburn Road again from Rochester to Culberson, kind of leading in to the Auburn corridor, as well as Waterview and Old Perch. So grand total, if you add up all these 10 years, that's $59 million of major road construction and rehabilitation. And we have another $4 million queued up for next year. Moving on to local streets, revenue's down a little bit. A lot of this is, again, due to timing. We have a Safe Streets for All grant that we received, and all that work hasn't been done yet, so we'll be carrying that revenue forward. Expenditures are down about $970,000 with some $187,000 in operating, $783,000 in capital. So in total here for local street fund, positive $810,000 to fund balance. We went from drawing $750 from. We're going to add $810 back. So grand total, we anticipate local street fund to also increase over the course of this year, which is very impressive to me. If you look at the difference between basically $2 million of infrastructure put into our local street network, and we're actually adding $60,000 to our fund balance. So that is a really positive mark. Looking at the long-term chart, this one again pretty boring, which we kind of like, but we will be ending 2025 right here around $8 million. Slowly draw it down to local street fund has a 25% fund balance that we'll be targeting, and then we'll be maintaining that going forward. Good news is we look to be able to maintain a $6 million per year pace that we put into our local street program looking forward long term. Over the last 10 years, been really keeping pretty good pace with that direction from the City Council from a decade ago that kind of put out the sort of challenge to administration to fund a local street rehabilitation program of $5 million per year. And not only was it a 3-year pilot program, we've been keeping that going over the past decade plus. And if you add all these numbers up over the past 10 years, $52 million of investment into our local street network. If you remember from 2 slides ago, we had $59 million of major road. Add this to the $52 million of local street, grand total $111 million this community has put into its road network. And keep in mind, all with no debt issued at all. Oh, and the big spike there in 2019, that was some local road work that was done as part of the Auburn corridor. All right, rounding the horn here. Now we're on to fire. Fire revenues were down slightly, and this is actually good news because a big part of this number was a transfer in from fire capital into fire operating that we thought we might need to back some funds in to keep fire operating on its balance. The good news here is we do not need a transfer in from the fire capital fund to fire operating to reverse that flow, and actually it's quite the opposite now. Funds are flowing as they should be from fire operating back into fire capital. Expenditures are lower by the exact same amount, but the big news here is our operating expenses were $460,000 less, or 3%. A very big percentage increase, but this is very positive news that not only did we get fire operating stabilized, it's also stabilized at its fund balance target, and there's an extra $167,000, which will flow over to capital for all those fire capital needs that we have. Looking at this chart, and this is nice and boring, just how we like it. With our expenses and revenues closely in line, we can adjust up the expenditure level to basically maintain that 20 to 25% range is right where we want this one. And you might know where we're going with this a little bit. So next fund here is our fire capital. You can see some of the extra dollars coming in here from fire operating. A grand total of $1 million less in expenditures. A big chunk of this is this $800,000 here in fire capital, and that is due to one fire engine that is still, takes forever to get these fire engines in. It still has not been delivered yet, but once it is delivered, we will be carrying those dollars forward to next year to take care of that. And you see a decrease here in transfers out because we don't need to transfer any funds out of fire capital anymore. It's going, the flow is working correctly where funds are flowing back in. So, and now we'll go to probably I always have to give you one scary chart here. And here is our one scary chart that is basically one of our prime things that we are looking at and we will continue to monitor. So we see this fund not looking good. It looks actually better than it looked when I presented this to you in July as part of our second quarter budget amendment. Big part of that is right here in 2026 and 2027. We have the replacement of 8 ambulances, 5 in 2026 and 3 in 2027. Keep in mind, the 3 that we have here in 2027, those are the ambulances that we just received here in 2025. Why are they why are you replacing ambulance in 2 years? Because we target them to last around 5 years, and it takes 3 years for an ambulance to come in once it's purchased. So we won't actually pay for those ambulances until they are purchased, but they are in our budget. What does this mean? It means these dollars that we're projecting here in 2026 and 2027 for those ambulances, we probably won't be paying until 2029 to 2020 or 2030 when they actually come in. We look good to replace everything we have now. The problem becomes when the ambulances we're going to be replacing need to be replaced again here in 2031 and 2032. That's where we have problems. But actually, these ones in 2031 and 2032, we won't really be spending them until 2034 to 2035. This is exactly why we do long-term forecasting the way that we do, to identify these problems very upfront and before we can plan for these and be proactive instead of reactive. So these are conversations we're having with the fire department and internally and working on what we can do. So we do have years actually to address and fix this problem, and we are working on it diligently as we go. We will wrap up here with the police fund as we just kind of segued from being proactive in addressing issues to reactive. Last year at this time, I showed probably one of the scariest charts I think council may have ever seen, what our police fund will look like after the Oakland County Board of Commissioners approved the contractual rate increases of 36.9% of our Oakland County Sheriff's contract over the next 3 years, including 17.9% in year 1 this year, 2025, followed by a 9 in 26 and another 9% in 2027. As we didn't receive notice of the Oakland County Sheriff's rate increases until last December, really right before this meeting last year, it was a bit of a tough issue. So let me show you real quick here. This is where we look now. This was the exact same chart I presented last year. So let's go back here because that's really scary because this is what our new reality is. So we took advantage of an opportunity from Oakland County to defer $475,000 in costs from 2025 to 2027, which we will have to pay back at 0 interest. So of course we're going to take advantage of that and keep those monies in our coffer a little bit longer. And that did help to reduce our draw in 2025 significantly. That's where we were, and that's back where we are. So we did have a good discussion with our city council last year, probably first quarter of last year once the news hit. We looked at a couple different options. We looked at maintaining the same millage rate and reducing our police staff by 15%. We looked at maintaining the same millage rate and reducing our general fund staff by 25%. We looked at maintaining the same millage rate, deferring all of our capital projects we had planned, and we're projected to use up our reserve balances by 2030. But as public safety is the city council's #1 priority, and rightfully so, we did not stay status quo, and the decision was made to increase the police millage rate, and thus the bottom line city millage rate by 3.9%, and we went from this scary chart to this very stable projection looking forward. Let's get off on that one. And the final comments. So that concludes my presentation night of the city's fourth quarter budget amendment and fiscal year 2025 year-end review. A huge thank you to our city council for your vision for the city of Rochester Hills and your support of the city staff over the course of this year. Reflecting back, 2025 has been very, very busy. Kind of can't believe this is our last city council meeting of the year already, but it has been very rewarding and a very productive year. Perhaps in perspective of hindsight, we'll be able to better appreciate everything that we have accomplished this year. So even with all the challenges thrown our way this year with police funding and every year with fire funding and pathway funding, we're still committed to the same exact principles that have become the backbone of our financial foundation. And first and foremost, to operate operationally sound. Continue our track record of running a structural operating surplus, when our long-term strategic planning will help us to keep operating with that structural operating surplus. And we direct our structural operating surplus towards our capital needs. And that's evidenced by a record amount of capital outlay accomplished in 2025, all with no need for debt to be issued. We just became debt-free this year, and we have no plans to issue debt anytime into the future. So speaking on behalf of probably the entire staff, we're going to take a collective deep breath and try to recharge a little bit over this holiday season, which we will need, because we have another very aggressive schedule on tap for 2026, and we need to hit the ground running as soon as we get into January next year. So with that, I will ask for President Carlock to open a public hearing on the 2025 fourth quarter budget amendments, and I'm available for any questions or comments you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. So with that, we will open the public hearing. At this point, the public can come forward and make any comments. We do not have any public comment cards, and I don't see anyone approaching the podium wishing to make any comments. So we will close the public hearing and bring the discussion back to the dais. We do have a couple city council members that would like to speak. First up, Ms. Menino.
Thank you, President Carlock. And Mr. Snyder, thank you for all your responses today to my questions outside of the meeting. And I would ask President Carlock, I don't know if we can include those, Leanne, or Ms.
They can leave,
Thank
yes.
you. Okay. Just a couple quick questions just for my own understanding. So right now it looks like we're asking for a budget amendment of a reduction of 15 million, or say a pickup to the budget of 15 million, of which 10 you mentioned will be moved into 2026. So the numbers that we were looking at on those slides, do the 26 numbers reflect the increase of 10 million moving from, oh, they do, they have
They
been
already are in
updated
there. Yes, that way it's apples to apples.
That was my question, it's, as we're looking at it. The other question regarding the 10 million, and you may or may not know the answer to this, but is that for projects that are already kicked off in process where purchase order commitments are made, but just they were underspent in 2025, pushing the spending out into 26, or is this just projects never got kicked off at all?
The vast majority of them are awarded already. They're just
Okay.
not completed. One of the biggest ones is the work at Fire Station 1. That work was awarded probably in the summer, fall, and that's underway right now.
Okay,
So that would be one of the biggest ones. There's also a SCADA system, which is kind of computer telemetry of the water and sewer system. That one's under project. But of the 10 million requested to be carried over, the vast majority of it has been awarded already. It's just
Okay.
not completed yet.
okay. So it's just a timing issue in terms of the recognition of the payments? Okay.
Correct.
Regarding the reduction in operating expenses of 3 million, which at a high level, and I know we went through each fund, I can look this up later, but in general, was that due to what? Efficiencies or underspending, or where's the 3 million pickup in operating expenditures? from your-
Couple places throughout. One of the biggest places maybe is in personnel. Anytime there's, somebody retires, it takes a little bit of time to fill that new position. Sometimes we call that salary lapse. That's a big part of it, as well as just all of our directors keeping a tight eye on their budgets and, not only using it when it's needed, not just, there is no, hey, we're at the end of the year, I got to buy a bunch of paper and things like that. So we really frown on that. So everyone does a really good job of maintaining their budgets. Part of it's also the fact that we budget conservatively on our expenditures. You guys get probably tired of me saying this, but for the new folks, bear with me. But we try to always budget our expenditures at numbers we can be at or less than, and budgets that people can live within. And it's not too much fun coming to myself and Mayor Barnett saying we need more money for something. So you guys have to figure it out.
Okay, that's good for me. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Menino. Ms. Neubauer.
Thank you, President Carlock. I just had a question about the police thing. It's a gentle question. I just wanted to know when the audit from Oakland County was going to come in so that we could compare our numbers. Since we are doing the end review, I know that we were promised an audit. I'm just wondering when we can expect it.
I believe the county has a September 1st year end, and typically you have about 2 months to close the books, so it'll be October and November. So I would say the auditor for the Oakland County is the same auditor for the city of Rochester Hills, Raymond, and happen to personally know one of the principals on that account because he's our principal account manager here for the city of Rochester Hills. So that will be something I let them know to keep a tight eye on as they're reviewing Oakland County's books, particularly on the dispatching or the patrol cost center that they have. So I would say, when will we get that audit? Probably first quarter of the next year. January, February, that should be completed, and we will most definitely, well, that's about the time we start engaging with our auditor, and we will ask that question and have that prepared.
And we'll be having an opportunity to view what they provide us, correct?
Oh, absolutely. It's public information. So, yeah, we're well within our rights to ask for that.
And if there's a deficiency in the information that they're providing, we'll be able to ask for supplements or amendments?
Well, we do know their auditors very well, so we
Yes.
could certainly ask for any amount of detail, within reason that we could provide. So, sure.
And I have a question for our city attorney. We are within our rights to ask for supplements and amendments or any information that we believe is deficient from the accounting, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so if they provide us something super high level, we can go back and say, provide us with X, Y, and Z, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Neubauer. Mr. Snyder, on that topic of that audit, would any potential findings be applied as a credit towards 26, or would it be applied as a refund towards 25?
Well, this point, you got different timings because they have one fiscal year end and we have a different fiscal year end. Basically, Oakland County cannot profit off of their contractual deputy contracts.
Right.
That was big reason for the 17.9% because they were showing a structural operating loss each year and they wanted to shore that up, but they cannot make $1 on it. They can lose $1 and that's fine, but they cannot make one. So as the auditors go through, and if they find that they are, then they would have to issue somewhat of a refund to get that back into alignment. I would say that would probably be more of a credit for 2026. That would take that a little bit of time to kind of hash out.
Yeah, that's kind of what I expected. So we would see that in a amendment for a future quarter. We wouldn't have to go back and reopen the books for a previous calendar.
No, they wouldn't be able to do that. I think where you would see it is this current year, they have the 17.9%. Next year is a 9%. The following year is a 9%. Where it would happen is they would not be able to increase it 9% for next year. It would be some amount lower than that.
Got it.
To get that in line again.
Got it. Understood. Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, President Carlock. And just a couple of comments. I think Joe and I go over these things quite a bit, and I always appreciate his depth, and I don't think he appreciates my summation of all the things he says. But he and his team get a tremendous amount of credit. I mean, I think they've certainly earned my confidence and the confidence of the other directors, and I think in large measure have earned the confidence of the council. It's easy to get washed into the numbers and the charts, but I am telling you, we are the financial envy of every municipality in Michigan, bar none. Maybe Lake Angeles with 346 people. I don't know their financial situation, but I mean, what you just saw is, and I say this out loud because a lot of our leadership is here tonight. They really deserve a lot of credit. From the fact that you heard Mr. Snyder say that, you know, take away the deferred projects, we're going to come in about $4 million on the positive side of budget. Unfortunately, the system is set up that we have to come before you anytime, you know, a project goes over. But we don't see are the 75 contracts between those where they're doing a great job managing, monitoring, and coming in $4 million under budget. That is substantial, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. And as Joe said, we've got some ideas as to how we can maybe manage that moving forward to respect council's ideas and wishes and, you know, fiduciary responsibility and recognize the work that they're doing as well. You saw these charts with our 7 major funds, you know, a $250 million budget, and the only challenge at the moment is a fund that if nothing changes, which stuff changes all the time, in 2031 or 2032 has challenges. That is not normal. And it's easy to sit on this side of the dais and think that's just how everybody else operates. But that is not true for most of our other colleague communities. The fact that we're paying for a new park in cash is not normal. The fact that we aren't proposing all of the work that you see in the next 4 to 5 years, no debt issuance. You saw most of our neighbors, direct neighbors, asking for debt issuance in this last election, or millage increases or something, or the like. We've just really managed incredibly conservatively and have done it in a way that has still allowed us to create what I think is a beautiful community, an enviable community. And so this can be boring to some, but this is kind of like our report card at the end of the year. And financially, all A's. You know, we're not doing it on the backs of not doing any work. We're doing record amounts of work. We're not doing it on the backs of pushing the debt to future generations. We're paying for it all in cash. We don't even talk about it. We used to talk about our bond rating. We don't talk about our bond rating anymore because we don't use our bond rating. And so I just, a tremendous amount of credit to CFO Snyder and his team, to the directors who are here. And I just, you know, want to recognize, I think, very purposefully, the fact that so much happened behind the scenes. Excellent contract management, excellent, you know, on the scenes, day-to-day operational issues, so that $4 million goes back in the fund for us to continue to spend next year, which is more than most communities, sometimes their even entire budget is for a general fund year. So our team does it well, and this council, and I know this is a new council, but we know you all well enough to know you are a conservatively minded group that's, you know, financially prudent. This is your team, and we are knocking it out of the park.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Seeing no further council or administrative comments, do we have a motion to move forward with the fourth quarter amendment? We do by motion by Mr. Blair, seconded by Mr. Limberg. All in favor of, I guess I need to read the motion first. So we have a motion and a second, no further comment. I'll read the resolution. Whereas, in accordance with the provisions of Public Act 2 of 1968, the Uniform Budgeting and Accounting Act, and the Charter for the City of Rochester Hills, Chapter 3, Section 3.7, the City Council may amend the budget during the fiscal year, either on its own initiative or upon recommendation of the mayor. And whereas, the public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2025 fourth quarter budget amendments was noticed on November 26, 2025, and whereas the proposed fiscal year 2025 fourth quarter budget amendments were available for public viewing beginning on December 6, 2025, and whereas at its December 15th, 2025 City Council meeting held a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2025 fourth quarter budget amendments, Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby adopts the following fiscal year 2025 fund totals as amended below. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Snyder.
Thank you, City Council.
Next up, item 2025-0557, fiscal year 2025 fourth quarter budget amendment, rah-rah. Mr. Snyder and Mr. Jewell. Ward, sorry.
Been a minute.
President Carlock, Council, Mayor, I usually end the year here. It's my one opportunity to really get to know any incoming new council that's here and just get a chance to say hi and let them know what we're about. The Rochester Avon Recreation Authority is a part of the City of Rochester and City of Rochester Hills, and our budget does go through Joe and is a part of the city's budget on an annual basis. And it's my opportunity to come here and ask for approval based on our fourth quarter amendment. Not much has changed from our second quarter to our fourth quarter amendment. We're actually going to be reducing the amount that we're taking from our fund balance for our capital projects this year. And that's due to our team's excellent work this year in, going through our revenue development process and making sure that our expenditures are much less than what we're taking for the capital projects. End of the year, last meeting of the year here, I usually start the year at City of Rochester, just going over everything that we were able to do in 2025. This year, we were able to complete our esports gaming room. We were also able to finish the front porch there at Rara and take care of some parking lot work for the year with our capital projects. Staff, we're at full staff for the authority, and we've also been able to hire and contract with several youth and entrepreneurs in the community, accounting for almost $465,000 in wages that students in high school, college, that come back throughout the summer and run our summer camps and other programs for RARA. It's a pretty exceptional program with all of the part-time staff and entrepreneurs and contractors that we have. Over 600 programs this year and about 12,000 participants throughout all the programs and events that we had this summer. Lots of partnership programs with the city. And on top of that, we were able to finish our first ever master plan for the Rochester Avon Recreation Authority, which will be up for approval at Wednesday's meeting at RARA. And we also were able to complete all of our capital projects that we had on the slate for this year. So with your approval, I would ask that our fourth quarter amendment be approved by City Council.
We'll need to open the public hearing first and close. And just to add one thing on to Mr. Ward's comments, these budget amendments were presented before the RARA board back in November and approved by the RARA board. This is the kind of the final step, bringing it before the Rochester Hills City Council for final approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder, and sorry about that, Mr. Ward. So I will open the public hearing. And with that, I will open public comment on the item. I don't see any public comment cards nor anyone approaching the podium to make any public comments. So we will close the public hearing, bring the discussion back to the dais. And Mrs. Neubauer.
Thank you, President Carlock. Usually, Councilwoman Teresa Mangioli, she's the one who speaks on behalf of RARA. She's obviously not here today, so I'm the lucky ducky who gets to do it. I just wanted to say thank you for all the programs that you do for our youth. They are instrumental in their development. I have never heard anybody say, oh, that program at RARA was not a good one. It's always been a positive experience for the kids. Your work in conjunction with the Rochester Raptors that take them now statewide, the bike team and with MISCA and the things that have allowed even the high school kids have been able, through RARA and their support, have been able to, from what I understand, get money for college because of the support that RARA gave them. They're excelling in their programs at school. They're even getting lettered, whatever it's called, Letterman jackets. Yeah, have. And I'm proud to move this motion in the packet. So thank you for all you do for our kids. Thank you for what you do for the kids in the school, the programs, for their parents. I know that RARA supports families that need support too. So we appreciate that. We see you and we're thankful for you.
Thank you, Ms. Neubauer. Ms. Menino.
Yes, thank you, President Carlock. I apologize I didn't get in front of this earlier to get the answer to this question, but I tried to go out and review some information. I noticed that there was some type of a deterioration, though, in the expenditures. The expenditures were actually higher than budget, the original budget that was set. I don't have the actual, maybe I wasn't around, but what was the main driver of, it's like a $275,000, almost $300,000 increase in expenditures? Am I reading that right? No? Okay, I must not have that right then on another note. That's why I said I apologize. Okay, maybe I need to go back and look at this. I'll send my question out in a separate email, but I apologize. So from your perspective, though, we approved this. We're basically on budget is what it's showing, or the Q4, the update?
There was a slight variation, and I'd say the biggest difference was we had a gap in employment where we had two new coordinators that were coming on potentially in January, and they didn't come on until almost March. So we had an accounted for budget item there where we actually saved a little bit of money. Expenditures are down in comparison to the revenue. So originally we were projected to pull $181,000 from fund balance to cover capital expenditures, and we're looking at only $171,000 from fund balance. So we do have in less money that we're going to be actually taking from our fund balance this year to cover those capital improvements. So all in all, with the variation in difference, we're actually taking less from our draw than we originally anticipated. So
I'll leave this. I'm going to go back and review.
Yeah,
if I
I'll
have
be
any
happy to
additional
answer
questions,
any
I mean, we can
questions.
go ahead and approve this tonight, but I'll go back and review this, and then I'll send in some follow-up questions if I have any. Thank you.
And like Joe said already, this was vetted by Teresa, who sits on City Council here, along with a council member from City of Rochester and our budget committee team and the full board at RARA before it even gets to this point. So they had a ton of questions for me, and I was able to answer. So any questions that you have, I'm more than happy to answer going
Okay,
forward.
yeah, I appreciate that. I can come to you, yes.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Menino. Seeing no further council comments, we have a motion by Mrs. Neubauer, seconded by Mr. Skelsey. I will read the resolution. Whereas the public hearing for the proposed RARA fiscal year 2025 fourth quarter budget amendments was noticed on November 25th, 2025, and whereas the proposed RARA fiscal year 2025 fourth quarter budget amendments were available for public viewing beginning on December 5th, 2025, and whereas at its December 15th, 2025 meeting, City Council held a public hearing on the proposed RARA fiscal year 2025 fourth quarter budget amendments. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby adopts the RARA fiscal year 2025 fund total as amended in the amount of $3,423,230. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Word.
And thank you, President Carlock and Council.
Thank you.
Next up, 2025-0589, Childress Avenue and Enid Street Special Assessment District, SAD paving project, public hearing on necessity. Mrs. Ballant, Mrs. Somerset, and Mrs. Taylor. Somerville. God, I'm sorry.
Good evening, City Council President Carlock, City Council, and Mayor Barnett. We are here in regards to the proposed Childress and Enid paving project that was brought forward to you at the December 1st City Council meeting. The next step was to, hold a public hearing. If there are no questions at this time, I would like to request that you open the public hearing.
Okay, we will open the public hearing at this time. We have no public comment cards, and I don't see any members of the public approaching the podium to make any comments. So we will close the public hearing, bring the discussion back to the dais. Mrs. Neubauer.
Thank you, President Carlock. I just wanted to say that with respect to this particular project and the request, Childress Avenue, there's a need to do this project because of the erosion issues and the water issues that we're having on this road. It affects public safety because if our fire trucks can't get down there, or if there's an emergency and they're stuck and there's a problem, we need to fix this road. So we appreciate the residents bringing this forward, and there's considerations that we take when it comes to approving or disapproving these projects, and this one was really based on necessity when it comes to the paving of this particular road. So with that, I'd like to move it for approval.
We have a motion by Mrs. Neubauer. I don't see any further discussion. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Blair. Okay, so there is no resolution, so we have a motion by Mrs. Neubauer and a second by Mr. Blair to accept the public hearing at this time. So at this point, we will close the public hearing, and that's it. Is there a vote? Do we vote? No, no vote. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a month.
All right. Next up, consent agenda. All matters under consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion without discussion. If any council member or citizen requests discussion of an item, it will be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion. I have not been made aware of any items to be removed. I have a motion by Ms. Neubauer, seconded by Mr. Limburg. I will read these. 2025. Oh, I don't have to read them anymore. So I have a motion by Mrs. Neubauer, seconded by Mr. Limburg. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Wow, look at that. Sped through all those. Next up, ordinance for adoption. I should have had a little moment there. Item 2025-0564. Request for acceptance for second reading and adoption an ordinance to amend sections 54-166, 54-226, 54-228, 54-261, 54-262, 54-302, 54-346, 54-382, 54-383, 54-502, 54-587, 54-590, 54-651, 54-711, 54-742, 54-776, and 54-806 of Chapter 54, Fees of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to modify and supplement fees charged for various city services, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and prescribe a penalty for violations. Mr. Snyder.
All right. Thank you, President Carlock, City Council members, Mayor Barnett. And so tonight we have 4 ordinance chapters proposed for update for the upcoming fiscal year. And this is for the second and final scheduled reading. And as we mentioned last time, this is part of our annual process of reviewing and updating our ordinance to ensure the fees are set appropriately, to cover our operating costs, and to update any ordinance language or include new sections to ensure our ordinances are according to applicable state laws and statutes, current standards and practices, and overall competitiveness. I would like to thank our city attorney, Mr. Christ, for his efforts in reviewing and updating these ordinance changes. And if approved tonight, these ordinances shall become effective Monday, December 22nd, 2025, following their publication in the Oakland Press on Sunday, December 1st, 21st, 2025. So first, we'll start with 2025-0564, Chapter 54 fees. Within Chapter 54, we have various sections of that chapter with updated fees and language as submitted by the Building Department for parking lots, plumbing, water distribution, temporary electrical services, electric circuits, HVAC systems, moving of buildings, EV charging stations, mobile food vending, driveway, right-of-way approaches, pathway connections, inspection fees, service calls, temporary hydrant rentals, meter testing costs, and water and sewer connections. And if you have any questions, I am here, as well as members of the Building Department, for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. I don't see any comments or questions from council. I have a motion by Mr. Blair, seconded by Mrs. Menino. I will read the resolution. Resolved that an ordinance to amend sections 54-166, 54-226, 54-228, 54-261, 54-262, 54-302, 54-346, 54-382, 54-383, 54-502, 54-587, 54-590, 54-651, 54-711, 54-742, 54-776, and 54-806 of Chapter 54 fees of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to modify and supplement fees charged for various city services, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and prescribe a penalty for violations is hereby accepted for second reading. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next up, item 2025-0565, request for acceptance for second reading and adoption, an ordinance to amend Section 79, Special Events of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to modify and supplement fees charged for various city services, to repeal conflicting ordinances and prescribe a penalty for violations. Mr. Snyder.
Okay, same opening spiel, Chapter 79 fees. Within Chapter 79, there is one section of that chapter with an updated permit fee as submitted by the Building Department. So with that, any questions you may have, we have members of the Building Department here.
I see no comments or questions from City Council. I have a motion by Mrs. Neubauer, seconded by Mrs. Menino. Resolved that an ordinance to amend Section 79 Special Events of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to modify and supplement fees charged for various services, for various city services, to repeal conflicting ordinances and prescribe a penalty for violations is hereby accepted for second reading and adoption and shall become effective Monday, December 22nd, 2025, following its publication in the Oakland Press on Sunday, December 21st, 2025. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next up, item 2025-0566, request for acceptance for second reading and adoption, an ordinance to amend Section 102-94 of Chapter 102, Utilities of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to modify and supplement fees charged for various city services, to repeal conflicting ordinances and prescribe a penalty for violations. Mr. Snyder.
Okay, same opening spiel, and within Chapter 102, Utilities, one section of that chapter with updated permit fees as submitted by the Department of Public Services for shut-off and turn-on charges. And with any questions, we have members of the DPS staff here for answers.
I see no comments or questions from the dais. A motion by Mrs. Newbauer, seconded by Mrs. Menino. Resolved that an ordinance to amend Section 102-94 of Chapter 102 Utilities of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to modify and supplement fees charged for various city services, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and prescribe a penalty for violations is hereby accepted for second reading, and adoption shall become effective Monday, December 22nd, 2025, following its publication in the Oakland Press on Sunday, December 21st, 2025. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Snyder. One more.
One more. Almost there.
2025-0567, request for acceptance for second reading and adoption an ordinance to amend sections 110-86, 110-88, 110-287, and 110-316 of Chapter 110, Fees of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to modify and supplement fees charged for various city services, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and prescribe a penalty for violations. One more time, Mr.
One more time. Let's do it again. So within Chapter 110 fees, a few sections of that chapter with updated fees and language as submitted by the Department of Public Services, Parks and Natural Resources, and Planning Department for items such as floodplain use permits, administrative charges, site plan reviews, and wetland and watercourse permits. So I, as well as members of the Department of Public Services, Parks and Natural Resources, and Planning Department are here for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Seeing no questions or comments from council, I have a motion by Mrs. Newbauer, seconded by Mrs. Menino. Resolved that an ordinance to amend Section 110-86, 110-88, 110-287, and 110-316 of Chapter 110, Fees of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Rochester Hills, Oakland County, Michigan, to modify and supplement fees charged for various city services, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and prescribe a penalty for violations is hereby accepted for second reading and adoption, and shall become effective Monday, December 22nd, 2025, following its publication in the Oakland Press on Sunday, December 21st, 2025. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Council. This is my last item for you for the year, so happy holidays, and see you
Merry
next year.
Christmas. Happy holidays, Mr. Snyder. Next up, Planning and Economic Development, item 2025-0022, request for purchase authorization, planning, approval of amendment to the Gateway and Park signage project to increase the contract for the construction and installation of the Bloomer Park sign in the amount of $29,925 for a new contract amount of $1,458,809.60. Warren Contractors and Development, Inc., Shelby Township, Michigan. Mr. Andrews.
Good evening, President Carlock, City Council, Mayor Barnett. We're requesting approval of the contract amendment to add the Bloomer Park sign back into the existing agreement with Warren Contractors. We deferred the sign back in June while partnership negotiations were going on with Oakland County, and they were underway with those discussions. Now complete now, we're ready to proceed and fabricate and install that sign. So with that, I'll turn it over to you guys for questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Andrews. I have a motion by Mr. Blair, seconded by Mr. Limburg. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby authorizes the approval of an amendment to the Gateway and Park signage project to increase the contract for the construction and installation of the Bloomer Park sign to Warren Contractors and Development, Inc., Shelby Township, Michigan, in the amount of $29,925 for a new contract amount of $1,458,809.60, and further authorize the mayor to execute a contract amendment on behalf of the city. Further resolved that the city's acceptance of the proposal and approval of the award of a contract shall be contingent and conditioned upon the parties' entry into and execution of a written agreement acceptable to the city. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Next up, public comment for items not on the agenda. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. We have no comment cards, and I don't see anyone approaching the podium wishing to speak, so we will move on. Legislative and administrative comments. Do we have anything from the dais today? Nothing? Mr. Mayor, it's all you.
Thank you. Last meeting of the year, make a couple comments, and certainly appreciate the work of the clerk's team in supporting all of our efforts. And one last time, Ms. Whispered, if you could show my screen, I would appreciate it. Wanted to start by recognizing the outstanding work of the men and women of the Department of Public Services. Obviously, they were called into duty a couple times over the last few weeks with winter weather. A reminder to our residents to keep an eye on our socials and the city's webpage, try to update those pretty regularly. We did have to call a snow emergency requesting vehicles off the street. It certainly helps us plow quicker and faster, and we appreciate everyone's adherence to that. But mostly just to thank the men and women who, when we hunker down and, cuddle up to go to bed for the night, they head out in the opposite direction into the cold and snow and dark to make sure people can get to work and school in the morning. And so lots of tools and technologies out there. We encourage people to check out Plow Tracker to see where the plows are. We had a little kerfunkel with it this last time, but it was with the producer, what's the right word, Mr. Blair? The vendor, that's the word, thank you. That's why he gets paid a lot of money. It was with the vendor, so, but normally that's a great way to track and see where the plows are. We just want to thank them and encourage folks to keep an eye as the winter weather is here, and we have to be mindful of that. Speaking of snow, on the other side of snow, there are some fun things happening. We certainly thank everyone who's come out to a couple of the special events that Dennis and his team did out at Innovation Hills with the winter lights. They are ongoing until January 11th, I believe. A few other fun activities out there. Check the city's website. But we've had a lot of fun out there. It's a beautiful, beautiful experience. And if it's not 38 degrees below zero, it's a fun walk around the lake. And we do thank the Parks team for making and helping keep Innovation Hills a year-round experience for our residents and guests. Of course, we had the Christmas parade this past weekend or a week and a half ago, anchored by our Grand Marshal, our very own Pat McKay. You see my team walking, and of course the council team there. Some of you, your first experience in the parade, hopefully you enjoyed it. Have many more to come. It's a lot of fun. Thank the Chamber for putting together a great parade, and all the first responders who kept it safe. You know, you're mindful of how you should never take for granted that you can pull off an event like this, given the circumstances in our world, especially over the last 48 hours. We have a great community, a safe community, but we certainly always want to stop and thank the first responders for doing their part and helping us enjoy the holidays in so many different ways that we do here in our two communities. One of the things that we do to enjoy the holidays and to celebrate is what's called 30 Days of Giving. It's an important part of our team's efforts here. We all go out. This actually is, I guess before I get 30 Days of Giving, this was our celebrations. I think one of the council members, maybe Ms. Newbauer, mentioned it. All the offices are decorated. We really get into it. The teams have a great time with it. If you get a chance to walk through City Hall before the end of the year, it's a great experience to see how many different fun things the group's given a high-level theme, and then they do the rest, and it's a lot of fun, so yeah, check that out. I mentioned 30 Days of Giving. This is something I'm really proud of. We are really about service in this organization. Every individual, we try to go all out in November, December to contribute to those less fortunate. You see gift wrapping for Gifts for All God's Kids. You see packing for Blessings in a Backpack, both for Avondale and Rochester. You see the OPC. You see the neighborhood house work there. I think there's also some work from Parks in cleaning up some debris from some elderly seniors' homes. It's just a great way we've been very blessed, and to live open-handedly and to bless others is a part of our culture and DNA here. And I love the fact that in every one of these pictures, these smiles aren't forced. This is something that people really enjoy doing as a part of our culture and our organization, 30 Days of Giving, and we'll continue to do that, giving back to those in our community who need it the most. A couple things just to remind you. We have one project that seems a little bit out of date here, but the due date is January 5th. Next year, we'll celebrate the 250th anniversary of our nation. And one of the early things that they're doing out of D.C., there'll be things about every month, but we're doing a partnership with the U.S. Conference of Mayors and National Endowment for the Arts, a poster project. So one of our students' posters will hang in Washington, D.C. in the Capitol during the America 250 celebration all next year. You see more information here, how to get involved, how to contribute. Your deadline, or your submission deadline is January 5th. We'd love to see some fantastic student submissions on this so that we can have our city represented in Washington, D.C. next year. Just a quick reminder that the museum has a bunch of events. They have an old-time Christmas that's happening this weekend. They had this week, they had some candlelight walks throughout the historic district. They've got the model train experiment or expo that's going on out there. If you're looking for something to do, now that the kids are out of school almost and you've got some time over the next few weeks, a visit to the Rochester Hills Museum at Van Heusen Farm is a great way to see kind of a different take on some of the traditional things about this holiday season. Do want to mention that we do have a couple coming dates that the city will be closed. City offices will be closed December 24th, 5th, and 6th, and December 31st and January 1st and 2nd for the holidays. So make sure a lot of folks come in typically around those times to pay their taxes. A lot of folks like to pay their taxes before the end of the year. So just note those holiday closures. They can also be found on the city's website. And finally, this kind of makes sense given the last announcement that was just given, or one of the most recent announcements. Usually we end with this picture, our city logo, but today I thought I'd end with this real picture. This is not AI generated. This is of the city's major gateway down on Rochester Road, just north of M59. A beautiful example, I think a wonderful way to brand our community, and it's gotten a lot of really positive comments. And anytime you do anything with gateways, you are always susceptible to a lot of comments. And this was actually wildly popular. And one of my favorites was, "It's not as bad as I thought it would be," which, you know, we'll take.
Hey, that's a plus.
Thank you to the team who put this together. I think the council's seen them all over town. But a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah to all of those. And we look forward to another great year next year. Thanks, President Carlock.
Thank you, Mayor Barnett. It is a great city to live in, for sure. All right, next up, Attorney's Report. Ms. Christ.
I have nothing this evening.
Oh, that is quick. Thank you. Nominations and appointments. We have a few here. Item 2025-0580, request to confirm the mayor's appointment of Brian Mutter, Carol Price, and Valerie McBain to the Board of Review for 3 years, terms to expire December 31st, 2028. I have a motion by Ms. Neubauer, seconded by Ms. Menino. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby confirms the mayor's appointments of Brian Mutter, Carol Price, and Valerie McBain to the Board of Review for 3 years, for 3-year terms to expire December 31st, 2028. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 2025-0581, request to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Penny Brady, Chad Geitzen, Russell Luxton Jr., Samantha Phillips, Clint Pleasant, and Dr. Tate Vo to the Citizens Pathway Review Committee for 1-year terms to expire December 31st, 2026. Motion by Ms. Neubauer, seconded by Mr. Blair. I will, this one. Read that resolution. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby confirms the mayor's reappointments of Penny Brady, Chad Geitzen, Russell Luxton Jr., Samantha Phillips, Clint Pleasant, and Dr. Tate Vo to the Citizens Pathway Review Committee for one-year terms to expire December 31st, 2026. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Next up, item 2025-0582, request to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Laura Bagley, Kristen Bull, Gary Gilbert, and Jill Weir to the Naming Standards Standing Committee for one-year terms to expire December 31st, 2026. I have a motion by Ms. Neubauer, seconded by Mr. Limberg. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby confirms the mayor's reappointment of Laura Bagley, Kristen Bull, Gary Gilbert, and Jill Weir to the Naming Standing Committee for one-year terms to expire on December 31st, 2026. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Next up, 2025-0583, request to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Dr. Stephen Flight to the Rochester Museum Foundation for a three-year term to expire December 31st, 2028. Motion by Mrs. Neubauer, seconded by Mr. Skelsey. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby confirms the mayor's reappointment of Dr. Stephen Flight to the Rochester Hills Museum Foundation for a three-year term to expire on December 31st, 2028. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 2025-0590, request to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Timothy Wood to the Construction Fire Prevention Board of Appeals for a three-year term to expire December 31st, 2028. I have a motion by Mrs. Neubauer, seconded by Ms. Menino. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby confirms the mayor's reappointment of Timothy Wood to the Construction and Fire Prevention Board of Appeals for a three-year term to expire December 31st, 2028. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 2025-0535, request to rescind the appointment of Marvy Neubauer to the Personnel Board for a two-year term to expire on November 14th, 2027. Motion by Ms. Menino, seconded by Mr. Limberg. Whereas at the December 1st, 2025 meeting, the Rochester Hills City Council appointed Marvy Neubauer to the Personnel Board for a two-year term to expire on November 14th, 2027. And whereas at their October 11th meeting, 2025, the Rochester Hills City Council adopted amendments to Chapter 82 Personnel Ordinances, changing the composition of the Personnel Board from one city council member being appointed for a two-year term to appointing the same three city council members serving on the Human Resources Technical Review Committee. Therefore, be it resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby rescinds the recent appointment of Marvy Neubauer to the Personnel Board for a two-year term to expire on November 14th, 2027. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Next up, new business. Item 2025-0571, request for purchase authorization, DPS Engineering, contract blanket purchase order for the Auburn Road and Technology Drive traffic signal improvements in the amount of $385,240.17 with a 10% project contingency in the amount of $38,524.02 for a total not to exceed project amount of $423,765.19. Rawhorn Electric, Inc., Bruce Township, Michigan. Mrs. Ballant.
Good evening again. We would like to request your approval to award the contract to Rochester Electric to modernize the traffic signal at Technology in Auburn, and this also is replacing deteriorated pavement at that location in the approach. We've been working on this project with MDOT and finally have all the MDOT permits, and we are ready to move forward. The LDFA is fully funding this project. So with that, please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. I don't see any questions. I have a motion by Mr. Blair, seconded by Mrs. Neubauer. We'll read this resolution. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby authorizes a contract blanket purchase order for the Auburn Road and Technology Drive traffic signal to Rochester Electric, Inc., Bruce Township, Michigan, in the amount of $385,240.17, with a 10% project contingency in the amount of $38,524.02, for a total not to exceed contract amount of $423,765.19, and further authorizes the procurement manager to execute an agreement on behalf of the city. Further resolved that the city's acceptance of the proposal and approval of the award of a contract shall be contingent and conditioned upon the parties' entry into and execution of a written agreement acceptable to the city. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Mallon.
Thank you.
Next up, item 2025-0579, request for purchase authorization, DPS Garage, blanket purchase order for water service repair parts in the amount not to exceed $206,000 through December 31st, 2026, Ferguson Enterprises, LLC, Flushing, Michigan. Mrs. Ballant.
Right. DPS is here to request your approval for a one-year blanket purchase order, and will also be allowed to renew it for an additional year to Ferguson Waterworks for water service repair parts, and we have had a contract with Ferguson before. So again, with that, if you have any questions.
Service parts for?
Water service repair parts.
Supply lines, yeah.
Yep.
Got it. See no city council comments. I have a motion by Ms. Neubauer, seconded by Ms. Menino. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby authorizes a blanket purchase order for water service repair parts to Ferguson Enterprises, LLC, Flushing, Michigan, in the amount not to exceed $206,000 through December 31st, 2026. Further resolved that the city's acceptance of the proposal and approval of the award of a contract shall be contingent and conditioned upon the parties' entry into and execution of a written agreement acceptable to the city. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you. Have a happy holiday.
Thank you. You too, Ms. Ballant. Item 2025-0573, request for purchase authorization, Parks. I'm going to try to read this fast enough to see if we can get Ken and Dennis to run. Contract blanket purchase order for the amount of purchase and installation of the Nowicki Park play area in the amount of $2,202,347,000 with a 10% project contingency in the amount of $220,234.70 for a total not to exceed project amount of $2,422,581.70. Michigan Playgrounds LLC, DBA Mid-States Recreation, Pataskala, Ohio. Mr. Elwert and Mr. Andrews.
Good evening, President Carlock, excuse me, City Council, Mayor Barnett. Yeah, you have before you really what is the first significant step request before you in construction for Nowicki Park. Now, to take you back a few years, really we started this process, if you will, in 2023 with significant public input on a variety of both randomized surveys and focus groups as to concepts of what people would like, and certainly There are several elements in the Wiki Park, but a playground surfaced as a need in the northwest quadrant of this area. Again, it's an underparked community or portion of the community, if you will, in the northwest quadrant of the city. There is really no other significant playgrounds or parks in that area. And so before you, you have a request to essentially order the playground parts and pieces and commit to this design. This will be one of the last things that comes on the ground. It's a long lead time on these items, and so the need to get this ready for late fall requires us to do this now. Again, we went through what you call SOQ, or Statement of Qualifications process, instead of a traditional RFP or bid process, for a couple different reasons. One, it's hard to compare apples to apples on these, because at this scale of playground, they come in and give you their ideas, right? The different vendors and the playgrounds give them the design concepts and that. So you sort of determine who is qualified on a variety of factors listed in the agenda item there. Do a profuse round of interviews back and forth over a period of months on that, and then really negotiate with a final company to within a certain budget range to determine their best ideas. And so that is what you have before you today on this, and Mr. Andrews is actually going to walk us through sort of almost literally in some cases, some of the photos on this, but point out some of the significant elements in this park too, because it will have its own personality, assuming that approved by council tonight, and some pretty unique items in this element that we really haven't seen anyplace else too often. So with that, I will hand it over to Dennis.
All right. So yeah, the playground is roughly 1 acre. It'll kind of champion the overall theme of the nature-inspired play elements, using the natural materials and kind of having a multi-elevation space. The equipment that you'll see will be rated for kids from 2 to 12. It'll kind of meet all of the applicable safety and accessibility standards and guidelines. The playground features 3 timber towers, which will be kind of the centerpiece of the playscape. A lot of sensory exploration throughout, ample amount of climbing and balancing experiences for kiddos and the kiddos that are kind of seeking the challenges and adventures throughout the space. The entire playground uses kind of a poured-in-place rubber surfacing, which will be our first one that we'll have in the city, which will create kind of an accessible environment that supports natural wayfinding and movement throughout the space as well. You'll also see some shade sails in there for each area for users as well as spectators. So the first area that we'll kind of walk through is the 2 to 5 area, if you will. In this kind of section, as you enter the main entrance into the park or the playground. And as you kind of traverse up that concrete pathway, you'll kind of see this is the main entrance into the 2 to 5 area. And then you'll see kind of the green poured-in-place surfacing that'll lead you to that pathway, and the concrete, if you follow that, that'll lead you to the towers. In that 2 to 5 area, you'll see some swings, some top playing for steps and ladders, and as well as slides for top level 2 to 5 play, as well as benches for spectators. Again, another angle of the 2 to 5 area, kind of from the other side, just so you can kind of get a different perspective from it. And then kind of the meat and potatoes of the playground area, you'll kind of see the central portion of it, which will feature those towers, those 3 towers, if you will, timber towers in those areas. Essentially, we'll have a slide that kind of covers every level. So, the kiddos, depending on how much comfort they'll have of going super high, or maybe not necessarily wanting to be that elevated, they can choose one that's a little bit lower on the lower level as well. Inside those towers, there's some play elements in there that that the kiddos can kind of engage with as well. One of the coolest things I think about this tower is the fact that they'll have wheelchair access. So somebody in a wheelchair will be able to traverse from each tower and throughout, and there'll be some play elements in there for those folks as well to be able to play with. And from this vantage point, you can kind of see the elevation kind of towering over the rest of the playground area. Another cool feature is the sand pit area, which kind of has the alpine pits, or the alpine huts, if you will, two kind of houses, which is kind of unique for a sand pit area. And if you dig farther enough, you might see some mastodon or some dino bones. So yeah, something cool, something that connects back to the city as well with the mastodon site here. So. Something else to point out as well is those musical kind of components that you see, kind of some bongos and things of that nature. That's throughout. We kind of sprinkle those in throughout the playground area just for a different, unique feel and play element. And then lastly is the kind of the adventure climbing portion, I would like to say, of the playground area. A little bit more activity over in this area. Of course, you have the swing set, which is customary for a playground area. Something that's super unique about this is the bamboo forest, which kind of allows folks to kind of jump from stick to stick. And I think we got a better, yeah, so you can kind of jump from pole to pole. Just gives you a little bit more challenge, for those kids who kind of want to, embrace a little bit more of a challenge from sticking from, or jumping from pole to pole, if you will. Kind of some more timbers that offer some climbing experiences as well. You kind of see off in the distance a popular feature that we have at Innovation Hills, that bucket swing. And then as well, over in the corner, you'll see the summit boulder, which, the handholds are kind of colored. That kind of dictates the pathway for the kids to be able to climb and kind of traverse over this rock, if you will. And so we wanted to kind of embrace and lean into the natural features and natural play, and we believe this playground definitely does that. So gives you another vantage point of that, and with that, we'll open up to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Now, just to help me put this into perspective, Adams would be running parallel on the right side of the screen?
Correct.
That's correct. So there's apartment, the condos are to the what would be the top of the building?
Yeah, the top of this area is Arrowhead Court, if you will. So yeah, to the south of this, or to the top. The south is opposite on this. Sorry for the confusion, but yeah, south is up on this one. There are four landowners essentially there, and we have, I'm engaged with all of them and have regular conversations with a couple.
Perfect. Is the material under the climbing rock the same poured? Is it foam, or is it is it like the track you see at the high school where it's that ground up stuff, something similar to that, something a little bit squishy?
It's definitely squishy. There's actually a variety of layers, similar to any of our playgrounds. The layers underneath are the same. It's just what you put on top. So there's inches of gravel base, but then there's a huge foam layer that sits on top of that, that 4 or 6 inches. Which is standard, and then you put this surfacing on top of that. So yes, it won't be like ground or anything. It'll be a pretty smooth type of poured in place surfacing. It's a rubberized type of surface. It'll be a little different than Innovation Hills.
Okay, and is it porous? Will does water go through that directly back into the ground?
Some.
Okay.
Yeah, and drainage is a component of this, and we have, if you notice in one of the first pictures, we had if you will, a dry riverbed.
Yeah.
You know, that may not be dry during sometimes in that. And so, you know, drainage is a significant component, both that and the swale in the back of the berm in the back has swales coming back off the sides. And so it does take some, but it's not really pervious. It doesn't sink a lot into that surface. Yeah.
Understood. Thank you. We do have some questions or comments from council. First up, Mr. Skelsey.
Thank you, President Carlock. I got a couple questions. I see the company says Michigan Playgrounds, but they're out of Ohio. Is it, I'm like, there were no Michigan companies?
Again, we went through 9 different vendors, and each playground distributor has if you will, a range. So even some of the ones that are based in, quote, Michigan have a Midwest range, if you will, on set. So they're assigned and we don't necessarily assign large value at this scale to being a Michigan-based or Rochester Hills-based.
Yeah.
It's certainly a discussion point that we have, but it is with all of the factors in there. So.
And then on your second slide with those awesome wooden towers, are those like timbers or are they, because I look at those, which I think it's cool. I'm always like, oh, there's going to be a wasp nest underneath there and some kid's going to get stung or something. Or are they protected? Are they coated?
Yeah, well, if I remember correctly, it's a Black Lotus. It's a very long, what's the word I'm looking for? Useful life. It lasts a long, long time, at least as long as the useful life of traditional playground equipment. And whether it's wood or a plastic slide, you can still get unfortunately, you can get a bee's nest or a wasp nest underneath, and that's part of our inspection process. And we remove them relatively, yes.
Well, I always look at playgrounds like my deck at my house.
Yes.
You can never make them big enough because once they're built, you're like, oh man, I wish I would have added 6 more fixtures to this or whatever. So it looks like it's going to be fun. Looks cool.
Thank you.
I don't know if I can fit through any of those apparatus, but
we don't have to get into a discussion of weight, but I think they do have a weight rating. Yeah.
I bet I can fit into it.
Okay, next up, Mr. Lindberg.
Thank you, President Carlock. So when I was reviewing these plans, I was thinking of my own childhood, and in the back of my neighborhood, we had a playground with a rusty merry-go-round that wobbled and was on it. You'd never see one of those today. Or swings where the chains would pinch my fingers, or stainless steel slides that got so hot in the summer sun, you couldn't go down them. And I'm reviewing these, and I'm like, holy cow, look at this. This is amazing that we have the opportunity to provide this for the children in our city. I think it's a very innovative with the vision of the design of the entire park. And I just looked at it and I said, wow, it's amazing that we can do this. So thank you for your work on it.
You and I are similar in our remembrance of playgrounds. But this does have a few elements of risk that go a little beyond some of our other places. Again, the climbing wall and the parkour bamboo poles, appeal to a little bit older not clientele, but kids. But it's still safe underneath with the surfacing and the depth of the surfacing and such. So yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lindberg. I did see a few things on there. I might, once this ACL gets healed, go start taking up some, was that Ninja Warrior training? I can
the parkour stuff.
I can start learning here. Maybe that's ACL friendly for people of my age. Next up, Ms. Menino.
Yes, thank you, President Carlock, and thank you, Mr. Albert, Mr. Andrews, whoever answered my questions. Yeah, I think it was Ken. Thank you for taking the time to do that. And I would ask that please be included. I did ask some questions specific to the quotation, but my question now, after seeing this, and I didn't really grasp it when I was looking at it earlier, is safety standards and playground safety standards. That looks really high. Okay, and I don't know if there are any guidelines in terms of that, and if so, what what are we taking into consideration in terms of safety and potential liability for the city?
And so, you know, you can't see them really well, if you look at these towers, if you zoom in, they're actually mesh in all those open areas as you go up to the top. So you're absolutely right that is super high, and so without it having an actual, you know, mesh barrier or a something there, that would not be appropriate for a playground. We meet CPSC and the ASTM standards for this, as well as there is a whole series of laws that we have a certified playground safety inspector that goes through a variety of tests, even entrapment tests, where they have little tools that they measure so a kid can't catch their finger going down a slide, or that the slats in between aren't big enough where they can get their head stuck, all the way down to the type of bolts you're using and how far they can come past essentially the nut before they become a hazard. And so all that is considered, and these pieces of equipment meet those standards. They couldn't put it on the market without that, and that was one of the requirements in our bid. It explicitly called out that they meet all those standards.
Yeah, okay, so that was my question regarding their bid and making sure that that was included as part of their parameters.
It was, yes, and liability-wise, you did ask liability, and this is, it's not any more liability than any other area of our park, and so this is covered under our Michigan Municipal Risk Management Association sort of general liability policy that we have with them, and so we actually have them come out and review our parks, especially when we have a new park. If they see something or different signage or what have you that we put up and change. So,
Okay, that was my question. That's good for me.
Thank you, Ms. Menino. Mr. Blair.
Brad had me waxing nostalgic about my playground experience, and it does have me wondering, with your comments, Diana, did the galvanized steel jungle gym with 18 coats of paint adhere to any of the modern standards? And I'm guessing they probably didn't. This is an outstanding design. It's absolutely beautiful, and I'm cautious because we learned a lot with Innovation Hills. We learned that there are risks with the playground being too popular. And I was wondering if there were takeaways from Innovation Hills when it comes to maintenance, spare parts, keeping, money set aside for repairs, so that we don't wind up in a similar situation where we're charging for parking here.
Right. And so the short answer of yes, we did, and it was more from a design element than a maintenance element. We made sure that there's several things that are problems in Innovation Hills, even though this is not Innovation Hills and will be a very different playground, just from an accessing a simple manhole in the middle of Innovation Hills that we can't get to with big equipment that we didn't think about. Those type of things are definitely in there. We actually learned from the process Innovation Hills, which is why we're doing this way. During that process in the bid, we actually had a general contractor manage this whole thing on their own, and there's no general contractor construction-wise that is familiar with or knowledgeable on the playground installation part and all this, so that caused some problems on some of that. Another thing we learned is that custom pieces are expensive and hard to maintain, and we didn't put in any custom pieces on this particular one. And that was a big takeaway from Innovation Hills. And we did push the vegetation back to the edges a little bit more than making it as much in the center here, as much as that's a great feature of Innovation Hills, and our playgrounds are unique in that we do that. We're going to irrigate this, which we should have probably done at Innovation Hills. We only irrigated the one section up at the top, and that sometimes makes the maintenance of that vegetation more difficult because we have to have staff out there watering it with the hose and such. So we did learn some lessons, if you will.
Appreciate you guys being on top of it. Can't wait to see it. Back to you, President Carla.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Next up, Ms. Neubauer.
Thank you, President Carlock. I just wanted to say, one of the things that I love about Rochester Hills is that they are very inclusive, and I love that there are more than just 2 swings that are handicap accessible. This entire park has something that everybody can use. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. Thank you for not just meeting minimum standards or something that'll make you look good, but actually making sure that it's inclusive for all kids with all abilities. So thank you so much. And for your small council members as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Neubauer. Mr. Limburg, do you remember some other playground tragedy?
Thank you, President Carlock. Actually, another nostalgic side. So while Councilwoman Menino was speaking to you, I was asking questions about safety, and then I thought about myself again, and what I would try to do is I would actually try to climb the outside of it when I was a kid. How high could I get? Could I make it up to the top?
These would be tough to climb, if you see, because there's not horizontal things to grab onto. They're basically vertical slits, not that you couldn't. And if it becomes a problem, like we learned at Innovation Hills, that even though the rope bridge that goes across the river over the little bridge in the playground was not meant to be climbed on top of, they do find a way, and then you have to sign it and sometimes enforce it with parents that may or may not be paying attention at that specific moment. But so we will be looking out for that as people use it if there are spots. We unfortunately have a saying that you can't stop stupid in sometimes. And, people that are going to be adventuresome and go beyond the rules are going to do that. And our job is to make it as safe as possible. So we have done that.
Yeah, I just started thinking, how would I go about climbing that? It was like, well, if I couldn't get my shoes in between the slits, I wouldn't be able to get up.
Yeah, and maybe you don't need to be saying it in a public meeting for ideas for people that,
Yes.
no, just kidding.
I
just
know,
kidding.
but I'm thinking about that, what could go wrong? And I was like, yeah, someone trying to climb the outside of it,
Yeah,
that's all.
each one of the new parks is a learning experience. It takes us about a year and a half to see how it operates and where some of the trouble spots are. And so we'll be watching that and certainly modifying if needed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Limburg. One more question, Mr. Andrews. In the very top of the tower that's closest to us, on the, I'll call it the window on the right, there's what looks to be like, I don't know, hammocks in there. They're black horizontal pieces. What's going on in there?
Yeah, they're essentially little steps that you can kind of get to the top of the third level of the tower, essentially,
Okay.
kind of mesh steps, if you will.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Just noting that Councilman Limburg is not invited to the playground. No, just, I would just say this, having gone through, and I want to thank Dennis and Ken. They've done a lot of work on this. And, I'm reminded that, when we started with Innovation Hills, the council trusted the administration on some pretty unique pieces of equipment, some pretty high dollar things, and I think that everyone would agree that that park has turned out tremendously well. It's won every award you can win from every moms and dads organization across Southeast Michigan, and even if it didn't win any awards, you would know just purely by the conversation you get when you go around the community and ask people if they like Innovation Hills. It's an astounding success. And this, again, I think we want to maintain the high caliber, the expectations that people have when they come to a Rochester Hills Park experience. I'm trying to raise more money privately so we can make it even cooler and bigger and wilder and more fun and more innovative. But this, even if as it is going to be the most incredible play experience for the little Meninos and little Limburgs that are out there now that are going to have an incredible experience walking and riding their bike and creating their first memories of community in this space. And so we appreciate the partnership. This is going to be a long road. There may be some changes. There may be some things that ultimately go in and go out, but you have great people driving the ship. And they've delivered an incredible project already, and I'm excited to see what this thing will be and how people will someday talk about how close they live to Nowicki Park, that they can walk to Nowicki Park, that they can hear Nowicki Park, that they can be in Nowicki Park in just a few moments with their pets or kids or kiddos, as you say, Dennis. So excited to start this journey together, and I can promise you that that safety will lead, but innovation will be pretty much right behind it to make sure we have a pretty cool experience for people.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a motion by Mr. Blair, seconded by Mrs. Newbauer. I will read the resolution. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby authorizes a contract blanket purchase order for the purchase and installation of the Nowicki Park play area to Michigan Playgrounds, LLC, DBA, Mid-States Recreation, Pataskala, Ohio, in the amount of $2,202,347 with a 10% project contingency in the amount of $220,234.70 for a total not to exceed project amount of $2,422,581.70, and further authorizes the mayor to execute an agreement on behalf of the city. Further resolved that the city's acceptance of the proposal and approval of the award of a contract shall be contingent and conditioned upon the parties' entry into an execution of a written agreement acceptable to the city. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Elwert and Mr. Andrews. I learned one new thing today, that certified playground safety inspector is not something they told me I could be when I was in school. So any kids watching this, that is a true job. You can inspect playgrounds.
Thank you very much. I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody, too.
Merry Christmas. All right. Is there any other business before the Rochester Hills City Council? Not at this time. I have a motion by Mrs. Newbauer, seconded by, nobody wants to go home, Mr. Skelsey, to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That is an adjournment for the last meeting of 2025. Next meeting of the Rochester Hills City Council regular meeting will be January 12th, 2026, right here in the auditorium at 7 p.m. Have a very Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays to everyone. Thank you.